If you have a special education teacher interview coming up, you want to watch this video. By the end, you're going to know exactly how to show up, what to say, what not to say, and what questions to ask that can save you from walking into a special education burnout trap. My name is Stefanie Kessen, and I've been working with teachers, schools, and districts to help them find the right staff to work with special education students. My niche is specifically working with students who are deaf or hard of hearing, but this video is going to support you regardless of what area of special education you are looking to enter. Special education interviews are different from general education interviews, and if you walk in unprepared, you could end up signing on for a position that is set up to burn you out fast. If this video is for you, click like, because when you like a video, it helps others find it when they're looking for the same topic. Okay, let's start with building your confidence. Before you even say a word, your body language is already speaking for you. So you have to stand tall, put your shoulders back, and give a firm handshake. When you walk into that interview room, the panel is already forming an impression of you in the first few seconds, even before you've sat down. Slouched shoulders, a weak handshake, or avoiding eye contact can unintentionally signal low confidence, even if you're actually well prepared. And if there is one thing that you do not want to communicate for this job, it's low confidence. On the flip side, standing tall and making eye contact, offering a firm handshake, immediately communicates that you are calm, capable, and ready to be there. Here's the thing. It isn't just about how you are perceived, because research on body language consistently shows that adopting a confident posture can actually help you feel more confident, almost like your body is sending a signal back to your brain. So even if you're nervous right before you walk in, take a deep breath, roll your shoulders back, and stand a little bit taller, because this can genuinely help calm you down. Confidence building tip number 2, bring a portfolio of your work into the interview. A lot of candidates walk in with just a resume and a smile, and that's fine, but I'm guessing that you want to stand out. So this small portfolio could be anything. It could be a sample behavior intervention plan. It can be a data tracking sheet that you use to monitor IEP goals. It can be photos of an adapted classroom or anything like that. You don't need it to be fancy. Simple folder works, or even a tablet. The reason this builds confidence is simple. When you have something to point to, you're not just telling the interview team what you can do, but you're actually showing them. And when you are showing them instead of telling them, your nerves naturally calm down because you have something to anchor the conversation to. It also signals that you take this work seriously enough to document it, which is exactly the kind of teacher that administrators want on their team, especially when it comes to special education, because everything has to be documented. Confidence strategy number 3, prepare a specific student success story. And I mean specific. Most people say something like, I really care about my students and I've helped them grow a lot, which is nice, but it doesn't tell the interview team anything. People love stories. So think of one student, obviously without using their real name or identifying details, and walk through the story. Tell them the challenge. What did you try? What changed? And how did you measure that change? For example, I worked with a student who struggled with transitions between activities. So I introduced a visual schedule and a first then board. Within about 2 months, transition-related meltdowns dropped significantly, and I was able to track that using a simple frequency chart. That kind of story is memorable, and it shows your problem-solving process, and it gives the panel a clear picture of how you actually teach. Having the story ready means that you are never caught off guard by the classic, tell us about a time question. And that preparation alone is going to make you feel a lot more grounded going into the room. Okay, so now that we've built your confidence, let's talk about the 3 things that you should not do and not say in this interview, because these can quietly tank an otherwise strong impression. Don't do number 1. Do not bash your last school, your last administrator, or your last district. I get it. Special education can be incredibly frustrating, and a lot of teachers leave because of real valid issues, like being assigned too many students, or not getting enough support, or dealing with administration who didn't follow IEPs correctly. But even if every word of it is true, saying it out loud in an interview raises a real red flag. The panel is not thinking, wow, that sounds rough. They're thinking, will this person say the same thing about us in a year? So if you're asked why you're leaving your current position, give an answer that is forward focused. Something like, I'm looking for a school that I can be part of a strong support team and really focus on direct instruction. Something like that works much better than going into the details about what went wrong in your last district. Don't do number 2. Do not say that you can handle a large caseload, a behavior crisis, or students with diverse needs completely on your own. I know it's tempting to sound like a superhero in an interview, especially if you're worried about coming across as not capable, but do not put yourself in a position that is impossible to achieve. In special education, saying things like that can completely work against you. Do not say, I don't need very much support. I can just figure it out on my own. Here is why. Administrators sometimes use that kind of statement as permission to under resource a position. So if you say that you don't need an aide, don't be surprised if you don't get one. Instead, frame your independence around your skills, not your willingness to go without support. Saying something like, I'm very comfortable managing a classroom independently day to day, but I also believe that having a trained aide allows me to provide more individualized instruction. A phrase like this is going to show confidence, and it shows a healthy expectation at the same time. Don't do number 3, and this one trips people up all the time. Don't avoid and don't downplay questions about IEP paperwork, data collection, and compliance. Some people think that the interview is just about the classroom vibes and connecting with kids, which matters, but special education roles are legally bound by IEPs, timelines, present levels, goal writing, and progress monitoring. So if a question comes up about how you stay organized with paperwork or how you track IEP goals, do not brush it off with something vague like, oh, I keep a lot of notes. Have a system in place and be ready to describe it, even if it's super simple, like a binder with goal tracking sheets, updated weekly, or something like a shared digital spreadsheet. Regardless of how simple it is, make sure that you show that you're serious about it and that you know how to do it. Showing that you take compliance seriously, it's going to tell your panel that you are not going to be the teacher who falls behind on IEP deadlines, which, trust me, is something that every special education administrator worries about. Quick break. If you work with any students who are deaf or hard of hearing, this channel covers a lot of related topics. So make sure that you hit subscribe and check out another video here, because I go deeper into specific support strategies for working with deaf and hard of hearing students. Okay, let's get into the part of the video that I think is the most important part, and that is the 4 questions that you should be asking them. These are not just generic, like, what's the culture like questions. These are designed to surface the exact issues that lead to special education burnout. And I want to make sure that you walk away knowing exactly what you just interviewed for. Question number 1. Ask about paraprofessional or aide staffing and training. You can ask something like, can you tell me about the support that paras get or aides get for this position? Or you could ask, how many aides are typically assigned and what training do they receive before working with students? This question is huge because many special education teachers end up essentially running their own classroom solo, even when there's an aide there, just because the aide's never been trained on things like behavior protocols, communication systems, or how to support specific disabilities. Listen carefully to the school's answer, because if they say something like, We try to provide as much support as we can. Very generic. That's worth noting because it sounds like they don't actually provide any support. However, if they can describe a clear process, like aides going through an onboarding training or shadowing before they start, that's a good sign. Question number 2, ask about behavior support systems. A good way to phrase this is, what does behavior support look like at the school? Ask, is there a behavior specialist, a behavior intervention team, or a process for getting support when a student has escalating behaviors? This is huge because behavior related burnout is one of the top reasons that special education teachers leave the field. If a school has zero behavior support, meaning no behavior specialist, no formal de escalation process, and no team on call when things get intense, that's a major workload and safety concern that you could be facing alone. On the flip side, if they describe an actual behavior team or a clear process for requesting a functional behavior assessment, or even just a designated person that you can call during a crisis, that tells you that they've thought this through. I guarantee you, you will be dealing with intense behaviors. You need a support system already in place from day one. Question number 3, ask about access to additional specialists. You might ask, does the district have specialists, like a teacher of the deaf, a vision specialist, or an autism support consultant who can collaborate with classroom teachers? This question tells you a lot about the bigger picture. Some districts have a full team of specialists who can come in, consult, and support both you and the student and the general education teacher. Honestly, you cannot be an expert in everything. Some districts are stretched so thin that the one specialist might be covering multiple schools or multiple counties, which means that you could end up waiting weeks for support or not getting it at all. Either way, knowing this ahead of time is going to give you some realistic expectations and it's going to help you plan accordingly. Okay. Question number 4 is a little bit different, but trust me, it matters. Ask about the budget for materials and conferences. You can ask something like, is there money set aside for classroom materials like sensory tools or visual supports, adaptive equipment? And does the school provide funding for teachers to attend special education conferences or training? Here's why this one is so important. Teachers are notorious for spending their own money on things, but special education materials cost way more than general education materials. You may find yourself spending your money on communication boards or fidgets, weighted items, organizational supplies, specialized curriculum. I mean, honestly, this can get very expensive, but you're going to need it. And if the budget isn't there, you're going to end up digging into your own pockets. On top of that, school-specific professional development opportunities that they offer in-house are probably not going to support you in your special education environment. You are going to benefit from the ability to go to conferences with autism strategies or assistive technology, and these typically come with registration fees, and you may have to travel. And if you have to cover them yourselves, this can also get very expensive. Many districts allocate funds, and asking this question up front tells you whether you are walking into a school that invests in its special education program or whether you're going to be expected to fill in the gaps out of your pocket. Honestly, the answer to this question can tell a lot about how a school values the special education students overall. If you know someone who is preparing for a special education interview right now, share this video with them. It can genuinely help them avoid a rough first year. And if you're going to be supporting any students who are deaf or hard of hearing, make sure you click subscribe and watch another video so that you can support them well.